Well, I can start with a quote that I just came across, and I think it's just appropriate for today and the times in which we're living, and especially after listening to Julie speak, and Michael, and it's about hope. So, hope is a feeling that life and work have meaning. You either have it or you don't, regardless of the state of the world that surrounds you. And that's Václav Havel said that. And I really feel like when I'm here at the Zero Waste Forum, that we all are very passionate about what we do. And it does give me a sense of hope. I'm really excited to be back with this group. I'm originally from Santa Cruz, California. And this time of year, I just used to geek out around my birthday as well. And I used to do the Zero Waste Week and Northern California Recycling Association update. And so this is kind of like a little homecoming, and great to see familiar faces and meet new people that are passionate, just as passionate or more so. So with that ado, my name is Jackie Nuñez. I'm the founder of The Last Plastic Straw, and I'm Advocacy and Engagement Manager for Plastic Pollution Coalition. How do I do this? It's not advancing. Okay. So my story is I am a self-proclaimed slacktivist turned activist, and that's a real term actually. And slacktivist is somebody who would, maybe share petitions online or maybe share an article or something, but not really take much action or show up. And I would describe that as me. I mean, I voted, but I barely voted. I was a river guide, kayak guide, and I thought that I'd make an impact with getting people to fall in love with the ocean and the water, and in their natural spaces, and be able to take action. But everywhere I went, it was trashed. And I do believe in collective consciousness. I started this around 2009. There was a lot of data coming out about plastics in the ocean. I was volunteering for beach cleanups, and I was just as overwhelmed as everyone else. I knew we had to stop it at the source, but I just didn't know what to do. And then I got the idea for The Last Plastic Straw. I had been doing beach cleanups. I already had started saying no to straws because I was seeing this stuff. But I would go with my friends that were, environmentalists as well, Kathy. And we'd go out for a drink or go get something to eat, and then they're all like, have straws. It was like literally in front of our noses, and no one's taking stock of it. And in California, we had a Water is Precious campaign for the drought. And that's where I got the aha moment. They only serve water upon request for the drought. It was a state mandate. And I'm like, that's it. If the least we can do is serve straws upon request, it would be an engagement issue and a way to get people to take stock in it. Because I could see what was happening with my friends. And when I would just point it out, like, hey, did you ask for that straw? Do you need that straw? Do you have straws at home? Well, no. I mean, well, what would it take for you to ask for no straw? And I knew that the no ask was the key. And have like the waitress or waiter or bartender just not give it to you automatically. And I had a hunch that that a large percentage of people would not ask for it if you didn't give it to them automatically, and it proved to be right. And so I plugged away at that. One of the things I did, and I think it's just really empowering to see people from government and people working in the waste space and also recycling, is I just started everything I did was just kind of I would say instinctively. I would go to our local waste management people, to our just city government people, and just talk to them, and they would stop the meeting and say, this never happens. Like, what are you talking about? Like, environmentalists they don't come and talk to us. Like, we are here, we are tasked, like our public works department, we're tasked to dealing with all this waste, but nobody comes to us and tells us what we're doing. We actually have money for this. We can work together. For instance, in Santa Cruz, we had green business programs, and there were other certifications. Like, a lot of those things you can work together, even like, say, surf riders, ocean friendly restaurant, like they can work in tandem with our green business certification, because you're like halfway there if you get some of those certifications. So it was really eye-opening to me that there was a need to collaborate more. And I always felt that I come from a family of 5, and I'm pretty good at instigating things. So I'm putting my instigation powers to good, and I was always open source. So I knew kids would take it on, and it proved to be true. So this happened though. In 2015, I called this the straw felt round the world. I already had a website. I had a Facebook page kids were taking on in their schools and in their communities. But this is what really tipped it. And who was the geek that had a whole website on plastic straws but me? And so they all came calling. It's been a whirlwind. This is me getting interviewed on Fox News. I got yelled at. I can share it in our WhatsApp group too. It's pretty funny, actually. But I was, I had my blue mind on. I had just spent 3 days up in the Sierras on a lake, minding my own business, coming down the foothills of the Sierras, and I had all these missed messages. And our communications director from Plastic Pollution Coalition was saying, Fox News wants to talk to you. And I'm like, no way. My first reaction was like, no, I don't want to get yelled at by a bunch of white guys. And they said, well, it's a woman. Let me guess. Is she blonde? Like, yes, but she's got dark roots, and she seems nice. So, I'm like, my parents, bless their hearts, Cuban American, very conservative. They love Fox News, and I wanted parental controls to keep them from watching Fox News, because every time I go visit them, they were more angry. And so I'm like, all right, I'll do it. Where do I got to go? And they said, if you can get to San Francisco, there'll be a car waiting for you at 4 o'clock, and you'll be live fed. So that's a live feed, split screen. I was sitting there looking at a red dot, and then all this crazy stuff started happening in my ear. Thank God I couldn't see her. But after it, I was really upset. So this is just a note to self. Sometimes it's good. I mean, I felt like I took one for the team. I really don't want to do it again. With no media training, but one of the things is you don't take the bait. You give your talking points. She really had nothing, and she was just kept hammering about, isn't it my right to use a plastic straw? Is it going to get a big thing? And I knew not to react, because it really made no sense what she was saying. So I was able to get the last word in, but after, I felt really like this was life fed. Like, what did I look like? Was I making weird faces? And was I, I felt like I really couldn't say anything. But turned out I did say a few things, and the last word was, plastic never was and never will be disposable. And basically neither are we. So that was it. The more that I was smiling, the more crazy she looked. And thank God I was smiling, and I had that throughout the whole interview. And it's the first hate mail I got. I didn't even know that you can rate people's Facebook page, but it was the first 1-star ratings and bad things I was getting. Someone made a comment about my teeth. It was just really interesting thing, but it was worth it, because, this is not a partisan issue. I mean, when you talk to people, everyone agrees that we have a problem, right? We have a problem with plastic pollution, and really, I wanted to come at it in a positive way. I didn't expect it to go viral. Well, actually, I knew it would be a movement, not on my account. I could see what was happening. People were taking it on. It was an engagement way so people can take power in their own communities, in their schools and stuff. But it didn't stop at the straw, because I knew that people didn't set out to pollute the planet. They just weren't aware. And to raise that awareness, and you give them a way to get in, they, time and again, people in their communities and students just really amaze me what they came up with. Your, like our previous speakers have said, your community better than I do. And all I could do is I was open source with my materials, and this is how I did it, and it grew. So now with Plastic Pollution Coalition, it's a large coalition. It started in 2009. So I do, again, believe in this collective consciousness. When you study the plastic pollution and production, it's not an accident, because you should see how much has been produced in the last 15 years, right? So it was overflowing, and everybody was starting to take it like, this is ridiculous. And so they started. I came on as a project when all this went viral, because it was just me and volunteer. I was not getting any funding, so I wanted to get fiscally sponsored. So we're fiscally sponsored through Earth Island Institute. So it's a large coalition. It's alliance of a lot of groups that are here, a part of our coalition. And if you're not, please join. Businesses, that's one of our coalitions. We have half of our coalition now are businesses. Since everything went viral in 2018, a lot of businesses have come on, so we have to really vet. But it's been really exciting to see some of the business solutions that are coming in, and we really want to highlight the solutions. So please, check out our website. There's a lot of, resources. We've got webinars. The other thing too is we have a lot of notables. We have actors and actresses. We're working with uh, artists. We're working with musicians. It's been great. It's been a really interesting journey to work with Plastic Pollution Coalition as Advocacy and Engagement Manager. One of the things that I've realized too, working here, I am, I'm not barely political, and the irony is now I'm working in policy, right? And but I did realize, local to global, and one of the things that I've done is really challenge myself to speak truth to plastic. One of my favorite Indigenous leaders is Sherry Mitchell, and she wrote the book and Sacred Instructions. Highly recommend it. Nice, she's got a nice soothing voice. You can do books on tape, but talks about Indigenous wisdom and conquest activism, how that doesn't work. And she has this 10-10-80 rule that we should be spending 10% of our time researching, learning about the problem, another 10% stopping harm, and that's the way of the peaceful warrior. They're not a conquest type of warrior. They want it. That's like the Dakota pipeline. They're stopping harm. And the full 80% of our time and energy should be towards solutions, right? And because that's where your energy grows. And so that's really been a challenge for me to try to do that and shift the language around. So it was great to hear Andy's talk about how words matter. I'm a real advocate about that, and I'm really finding that in policy too. Any gray areas industry will take and manipulate for themselves. So greenwashing, right? Exposing that. I call the recycling symbol for plastics is just a marketing label. And one of the challenges in messaging for plastics or for change in how we're using it is not using industry terms. So when I started with Plastic Pollution Coalition, we had a logo or a saying that refused disposable plastic. And I asked Deanna Cohen, the co-founder, I was like, well, but is it disposable? Like, could you put quotes in that? And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm like, why don't we just call it what it is, single use? And so kind of started changing the narrative. Even I cringe every time I hear the statistic of all the plastics ever been made, only 9% has been recycled. I question that. Has that been recycled? I think, Michael, you brought it up too. It's like, actually, it's not getting recycled. What we're calling recycling is not recycling. So why are we perpetuating that myth? I've even had conversations with our own team, our communications team, about that. It's like, can we at least put it in quotes when we're doing it? Well, and I've got feedback saying, well, people are going to be confused. And well, they should be, right? We are not. We are here to create doubt about the system that's been thrust upon us and have to make this stuff work. And I think it's really time that we're more provocative in our language and stray away from industry terms when you're describing it. So I like to say, of all the plastics that have been made, it's been, right, I'll do the air quotes, or I'll say reclaimed. And part of what they're calling, recycling is shipping it off to other countries, incineration, all those lists. So it's part of my future. So how do we get here? Famous speech in 1956, Lloyd Stouffer told a group of plastic producers, the future of plastics in the trash can. You can convince people to throw it away. You've got a whole nother market, and here we are. Everything's overpackaged. It's a lot of things that really comes down to wants versus needs. So in a lot of our communications, we're really focusing on that and what is needed and wanted, and what can we do instead. Does it have to be single use? I strive, zero waste. I say to people, I try to be zero wasteful. And I realize, like, why am I so passionate about this? And listening to everyone speak, it's like, I am part of the same ilk. I mean, I just hate waste, and hearing Andy talk about salvaging and doing all these things, it's like, yeah, like we all kind of come from that same thing. And we had to be taught to be so wasteful. So this is what we're calling recycling, right? It's a crime. But we're starting to get pushback, right? And we're finding a lot of the truth coming out about plastics. And so it's kind of like our jobs, and especially for Plastic Pollution Coalition, we're a communications organization mainly, to get the word out and to share these things and to have webinars and have experts talk about all these things. This is truth in labeling. Plastics is not disposable, not compostable, not recyclable. It's a contaminant in our recycling system. It's a contaminant in our environment. It's a contaminant in our bodies. When you look at the definitions of a lot of these things that they say plastics fits this definition to a T. I met Chelsea Rockman when I first started on this journey at the Plastic Jar Symposium, and she corrected me. She goes, well, you have to call that hazardous waste. And there's actually one of the early freshwater studies for microplastics was with Chelsea Rockman and 5 other scientists in Nature magazine. In the end, they were advocating for hazardous waste designation for plastics, because that way you can hold corporations responsible, and it becomes one big Superfund site, which is what this has become. So, and really exciting to see some of the pushback. We have a great attorney general in California that's suing not only fossil fuels but plastics industry, one and the same, and just calling it out. So we're hoping to really I would love to fast track this and just get to the point of what's really happening, and ban those items that don't need to be used or made out of plastic, and also get a handle on really holding producers responsible. The ACCC is actually an Australian organization, and they started really coming down hard on labeling and greenwashing claims a few years ago. So Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act, we're working towards that. It hasn't been reintroduced yet this year, but they are going to. Not a favorable federal atmosphere, but we're going to, and it's really a comprehensive bill that goes from extraction to waste. And it's not a big sweeping thing that's hard to attain. It's actually all based on tried and true local and state measures that work. It's practical, it's pragmatic, but it's all in one bill. And we message off of it. We've done a few spin-off bills off of it, and laws for like, bottle buyback problems, programs and deposits. And yeah, so it's been a good tool to go and message with. And I'm in it to win it. I want this thing to pass. And we're going to be introducing it again this year. Global Plastics Treaty, we've hit on that. I guess what I'm going to say, our role in it, we've I think in Korea, we had done a plastic people screening. It's a great film. It's actually available for free in April, about plastics and health. Highly recommend doing screenings about that. We had it translated in Korean and showed it there, doing a lot of action. We had champions of change working with a lot of businesses to sign on to make a stronger stance in the Global Plastics Treaty. And then we also have, for Plastic Pollution Coalition, we have a global plastics law database, which we're populating on with partners and adding new laws every day. Filter not bottled, making sure with the money earmarked for like all the lead pipe replacement, that's not going to be spent on plastic bottles. Hello. People don't know, but even when you get your plastic or your lead pipes replaced, you're going to have to be filtering it for at least 6 months to a year anyways. So we want to make sure that people are getting empowered and getting those filters that they need to filter their water. And also for disaster relief. This is a video, but we're not going to be able to watch it. Understanding Packaging Scorecard. They just updated it. Okay, 1 minute. And this is a great tool as well. We worked with the Google Food Lab, and it was a big group of people putting this together. So it's a great database for people to go to and see about like all kinds of metrics on chemicals of concern and different ways to rate a lot of these products. You can find all this on our website as well. Flip the script on plastics. It's a fun one. It's actually, we want to normalize reuse on screen. And so we had a project with the Annenberg School of Film, and they basically took some of the top shows on Netflix and whatever, and they basically rated like how much single-use plastic did you see on screen? Was it part of the story? or they're mass plastic events like a kegger or whatever with all the solo cups. And then really kind of working towards, product placement, but also normalizing reuse. And it's been great to see some of these movies and different things coming on and just creating reuse as part of the character development. During the writer strike, we actually took a bunch of writers on a toxic tour in southern LA, and it was really interesting to be able to tell more of a comprehensive story about the problem. So we're hoping to get some of that. And then we're also working with back of house and front of house is also with productions, a lot of wasted plastic in there. So more on that. And that's a video too, I can show you. One of the things I want to say too is art changes people and people change the world. And that big plastic tap that I showed earlier, that was Ben Von Wong. We had been talking about a global plastics treaty for years. The year that they went to UNEA and they had that plastic tap, all the delegates had to walk by that tap every day. And, the message was in the art, turn off the tap. And it was the first time. And that, that organization, I mean, that one meeting, they finally agreed, like, yeah, we need to work on a global plastics treaty. So it's really important. It's another form of communication. I think it's really needed. And then I'm all for bringing your own. I call myself an urban backpacker. I have a little show and tell going on at my table right now. Those things are not to take, but you can take the straws and the stickers. What I show, I'm a geek about coffee. I have my own little coffee grinder and things, and you can see all the little increments, but it doesn't have to be that. I mean, your grandmother is the original zero waster. I would love to have a retro campaign with the OG grandma telling us how it's done. But that's a pie plate. I mean, you don't even have to go and buy stuff. You can get things from home. Mason jar, that's a pint, wide mouth mason jar. And then I put a koozie, like if you ever put like the top of your sock or whatever, you can have that on there. That's a koozie, hot and cold, and it seals. I love this quote. So it's something to think about. Like, so what's your poison, right? Everything we make comes back to the earth as either food or poison. We need to start making these decisions and making better decisions. And I think we'll be living in abundance and not scarcity. I think right now what we're living in is waste and scarcity. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. That was great. Jackie was leading us into our global case studies and zero waste efforts.